As the fall semester of my second year at California State University began, I found myself overwhelmed with immediate assignments and extensive readings. Amidst the hustle, I discovered solace in our campus's beautiful Japanese garden. Strolling through its winding paths, I admired the stunning array of plants, flowers, and trees. The ponds inhabited by koi fish and the serene waterfalls added to the already perfect ambience. The garden was usually quieter in the late evening, my favorite time to visit for some peaceful reading. One late evening, after a late session on financial management concepts, I headed to the garden as the sun was setting, giving me about an hour before it closed. I settled into my favorite spot beneath a Japanese maple, which provided just the amount of shade and a perfect view of the garden. There were a few groups of people, but most were likely having dinner at this time. Beside the bridge, a middle-aged man filming with his phone caught my attention. He aimed his sights in my direction and paused. It appeared he was pointing his device directly at me. Eventually, he continued down the path, but kept awkwardly looking back my way. The way he lingered and repeatedly gazed back gave me chills. I felt he was almost trying to make me feel uncomfortable. My anxiety grew as I realized the path he was on would eventually lead him to me. Torn between staying or leaving, I decided to stay since there were others around. A few minutes later, he started walking towards me, still holding his phone. He showed no hesitation in invading personal space, climbing the small grassy hill and sitting down uncomfortably close. I mean, out of the whole garden, why sit less than 10 feet from me? Trying to be polite, I guess, I made brief eye contact and smiled, but quickly started gathering my things. He asked if I was a student. I nodded, wished him a nice day, and began to leave. Out of nowhere, he mentioned he was a photography student, which I found hard to believe given his age and outdated phone for a camera. As I walked away, I felt a prickling sensation on the back of my neck, like his eyes were burning into me. When he asked to take my picture, I looked back briefly and replied he already had several, and hurried towards the exit gate. Just as I was leaving, I heard him mutter, "Because you're effing sexy." I reported him to a security guard, but since the garden was open to public, they couldn't check for a student ID. Maybe I was overreacting, but I've been in bad encounters before. As I walked to my car, I saw that man walking to his car, staring so intently at me. Unlocking and getting in my car, I sat parked, waiting and texting my boyfriend. The man slowly got into his car, adjusting his rearview mirror to keep me in sight as I was positioned behind him, then just continued to sit there. My nervousness grew as minutes passed. I decided to drive off quickly, hoping to lose him. But just as I turned onto a quieter street, I saw his headlights appear in my rear view as he rounded the corner. As I drove, I noticed his car was getting closer and closer. What on earth does this guy want? Why does he feel so driven to scare me? Desperate, I parked and called 911. While explaining the situation to the operator, who quickly answered, he slowly pulled up alongside my car, took more pictures of me, grinned, and sped off. His laugh, barely audible through my closed window, filled me with dread. I managed to grab his license plate number and reported the encounter, but never heard anything back. Hesitant to return to the Japanese garden, I eventually built up the courage. Luckily, the school year passed without any further freaky incidents, but the experience stayed with me, making each visit to the garden a cautious one, knowing at any time that man could return.